he said, if you don't get on a stand, you're going to lose. You're going to jail. I said, I can't take the stand, man.
Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got PeeWee, Goldsmith, and Repo Rod. What's up, Repo? What's up, PeeWee?
What's going on, man?
What's going on? How are you guys?
What's up, Rod?
Good, man.
Bringing old friends together.
Yeah.
Right.
We stay in touch all the time anyway.
For the people out there that don't know who you are, you guys want to introduce yourself? We'll start with Repo.
Repo Rod, he's former HA member.
In the East Coast.
Oh, yeah, on the East Coast.
Yeah. And I'm PeeWee. I was a Hell's Angel on the West Coast. That's where I started off in San Francisco. Then I went to Las Vegas, and I started the Angels there. I originally started off in the Midwest in Minnesota, but that's another story in itself.
When did you guys first meet?
We met, where was that, Rod? It was, well, I seen Rod at events all the time, you know, like at Bears. He was the only one. I thought he was the only one that rode his bike to Bear's funeral, and it was snowing and everything, you know. I flew in from California.
I literally rode all the way to Bear's funeral and all the way home.
Yeah, that was crazy, man.
And what was it, snowing then, right?
Yeah.
It was snowing.
It was bad. It was bad out, man. It was bad out. Yeah, I remember that. I remember.
Is there any events that you guys went to where things maybe transpired? Like what was it like for you guys going to events that you guys were at the same events?
Like lunatics. Right, Rod?
Oh, well,
yeah.
The USA runs was always a little bit crazy here and there. It wasn't just having a good time.
Yeah, it was, you know, it started, I think Staxx, when things started going bad is when, I think it starts going bad when people start like policing, you know, their own, because if that was the case, the club would have to shut down so many charters, your head would spin. But they started doing it like, you know, like they did with Rod's charter. Then they did it to Michigan. I watched this happening, and I just, those were the things that were turning my stomach. You know, the club feeding, like, hey, why aren't you guys taking care of your area? I'll give you an example. Michigan was just like 6-7 guys in the whole state. And that state's pretty much all outlaws. They're all outlaws. And they're dominant. They're the dominant ones there. And it was their state. And they didn't like them being there. But the club is like, you guys better stand up and get out there and do your thing. But the only thing they were going to do, bro, is get killed. That was it.
Yeah. They do you think that they set these guys up for failure? Like in Rod's situation, he's down there in Philadelphia. He really doesn't have a lot of backing from the other charters, right?
Right. No, none of the other charters will back you on anything. Right, Rod?
Right. I got to say this. The East Coast is a different beast than the West Coast, because had the situations I was dealing with been on the West Coast, I think it would have been a whole lot different. A whole lot.
Well, I say there was a lot of times, too, that I was at events, Staxx, where I wouldn't let shit go down. You know what I mean? I don't care, you know? What's wrong is wrong. What's right is right. And, you know, these guys would always walk by me, which really pissed me off, and say, hey, PeeWee, come on, man, you're always up for a fight, because everybody knows I like to fight. And I'd say, I don't fight. I'm not into fighting with my brothers, you know? Yep. It just wasn't my thing. If a brother disrespect me, like if you and me, Staxx, were blood brothers, we get in arguments, we get in fights. You're still my brother. I love you. You know what I mean? It's not a hate thing. We're brothers, bro. We are brothers. So when I see a group that I'm in walking over to another portion of the group that we're all in and circling them and, you know, telling them, hey, you better do this, you better do that, I just shook my head. And I remember we were in Branson, Missouri on a USA run, and when they walked over, they all went over to confront Michigan. And I was talking to Fuzzy, and I said to Fuzzy, I said, man, you've been in this club a long time. Have you ever seen any shit like this? And he said, no, this is bad. That was,
Yeah.
And the same thing with Repo, too, man. That was horrible. That was horrible when I was in that room.
You were there.
I got up and walked out.
What do you remember from your perspective on that day?
Well, it was going along just like every other meeting goes, like the boring self, And then all of a sudden, like the atmosphere of the whole room changed. And I could see it was all bullshit. Because the guys up front that were running it said, hey, did you guys bring your votes? And Repo and all the guys were at the far end, like way to my far right. I mean, down the farthest, the whole room was filled with Hell's Angels from every charter on the East Coast. And he said, did you guys bring your votes in? And I was just sitting there, Staxx, kind of looking out like this for a crowd looking at them. And I could see guys' faces doing this. Like, votes? What votes? Like, nobody knew what was going on. And I was like, what the hell is happening here? And 3 charters stand up and said, we brought ours. Just 3 out of what?
3.
Yeah.
That's it.
Out of what?
3.
40, 50 charters?
Yep.
So they stood up and they said, we vote whatever it was, yes, for them to go, yes. And I still didn't know what they were talking about. And then one of those guys stood up and said, these are the votes to throw Philly out. And I'm like, throw them out for what? I didn't get it. And then, they stood up when the three charters had said, yes, out. The rest didn't even vote on it. And even Repo will tell you that with just that, they would have to say, technically, take it back to your charters on the next OM and bring your votes in. That's the way it should have been done. But they said, we're just going to go with these 3 then. And then when they stood up, they said, hey, you guys take your shit off.
Yeah.
Repo said, fuck you, come and get them.
So even if Repo would have said, all right, and took his jacket off and gave it up, would he still have the same outcome that happened?
Yeah, I think he would have.
Oh, yeah.
I seen it. I could feel it in the room, Staxx. I could feel it. And that was another one. As they walked past me, they said, come on, PeeWee, you're always up for a good fight. Swear to God, said it again. And I looked at him, I said, nah, not this time, man. I said, this is fucked up. And I had a new guy with me. He was only in the club 6 months.
Yeah.
A tattoo artist. And he's sitting there, and I said to him, see what's going on here? This is the beginning of the end of this club. This is the end of this brotherhood, man. They're feeding off each other like sharks. It was bad, bro. It was really bad. And when the fight started, these guys were holding their own with the guys from the table. Then everybody in the room got up and got involved and jumped on them, like 40 guys. So when that happened, I just stood up and I said, we're out of here. And they ran up. Hey, wait. Ain't your guy a tattoo guy? We want him to black these tattoos out. I said, nah, fuck that, man.
Yeah.
They can throw out a whole charter, the whole charter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, I brought up at OM and on the West Coast a guy who I liked. I liked him very much. I thought he was a great brother. And I wrote a motion for everybody to take to their charters and vote on this guy, to vote him out of the club. Because, they tell us, you're never supposed to take the witness stand, right? You can't take the stand. You can't snitch. You can't do this stuff. Well, that's fine. I'm good with all that. So I went to jail 2-3 times, not taking a stand where I could have walked.
So you can't even defend yourself in court?
No.
There is no defending yourself. You just have to take whatever they give you.
Staxx, I had this guy rip my shop off in Sturgis, the shop I had. He stole a bunch of shit from it. He got his ass kicked, and I got my stuff back. But then after they arrested me, I can't even make this up. They took all the parts I had hanging on my walls with my stickers on them, gave them back to the guy because he said they were his parts. Gave them back and made me pay him $10,000 restitution. And my lawyer says, you got to get on a stand. We got a credit card of yours that's in my name, shows that you bought all that stuff. And I said, I can't do it. And he said, if you don't get on a stand, you're going to lose. You're going to jail. I said, I can't take the stand, man. So I could not defend myself. So I went to jail. I got a felony. I had to pay him $10,000.
So that's part of the rules. You can't go on the witness stand.
No, not at all.
Bro, ask Repo. We could get hit by a car, be laying in the road, get the car's license number, or even know the guy who ran you over. And you could say, hey, if you tell the cops, you're out. You're done.
Yep.
Now, what if you're in a car accident and you got to sue the insurance? Can you sue the other person's insurance or no?
Well, with me, I had to use my insurance for the underinsured, you know what I mean, to pay for my bike and stuff. But the bad part is you're laying out in the road, you don't know what's even broke on you, and you can't, you know what I mean? You're gonna go to the hospital. You ain't suing anybody, but the club tells you, hey, you know what we'll do? We'll take care of it. The old school way. The old school way's gone, bro.
Yep.
You know, when you are knocking on people's door today, you're going to jail,
prison. You're going to prison.
Right on the phone and
Yep.
So what are you going to get out of the guy, Staxx? You're going to go to his house and say, hey, you know, you broke my back. What are you going to get? His car? His house? He ain't going to get it. He's going to call the cops.
So you've dealt with that too, Repo, right? Where you can't do anything. You're stuck in a position.
Same thing in my case. You know, we knew it was a Philadelphia member that dropped his case on me. And there was a co-defendant in the case from another 1% club in Philadelphia. And he took the stand and testified, and he sat right there and told the whole court and pointed at me. That's not the white man that was with me that day, and said who it was. And it was a former Philadelphia member who up and cowardly quit. But I couldn't take the stand. I took the fifth. They originally offered me 9 to 20 years in a plea deal. And I went up with 5 to 10 on that because I did not take the stand.
And you could not take the stand. That was part of the rules that you were living by.
Yeah.
And me.
And you.
But I think I think that's changed, bro. Right, Rob? I think that's changed. I think those guys can get on the stand. It
appears to change because there's cases out there now where angels have testified. And I don't know whether because I'm not there, but as far as I know, it depends also on who you are.
Right. Going back, like I was telling Rod, going back to that guy I wrote the motion on, I told you I liked him. He was a good guy. I loved him as a brother. And he was a straight up gangster, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Took care of you know what I mean? He was out there blasting away, taking care of business. He was a good Hell's Angel that way. But where he messed up is he got on a stand, and I already left the courtroom. I was there to support him. And I spent the whole week there during the trial. And right at the end, I knew he was winning. I said, I'm going to take off. I'm going to Sturgis. I got to work on the shop, do a bunch of repairs. And I said, I'm going to head out. He's already won this case. And I said, okay. And I left. And one of the members calls me and goes, hey, you're not going to believe it. He took the stand. I said, why did he take the stand? And he said, well, he did. And he said, they showed a picture of you, me. And they said, who is this? And he says, oh, that's PeeWee. And he goes, you mean Charles Goldsmith? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, who is he, you guys up there? And this is his exact words. Pee-wee's a guy we all check in with. He's the shot caller up there. And I'm hearing this and I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah. He said that you're the guy that everybody checks in with, you know, and I'm the guy who, like, you know, runs everything. So why we're in this trial that we're in was for 5 outlaws getting shot in Custard Park. Did I send them out there? Because I'm the shot caller. You know what I mean?
Basically, he's pointing the finger at you.
Right. And then I had an old tattoo on the back of my arm where you know, it was a all outlaws must die. But when we were going through a truce thing with those guys, they said no more of those tattoos and stuff. So I covered it up. But the time of the photo, it was still on the back of my arm. And they pointed it out to him. What does this mean? And he read it out loud in courtroom. I was just like, man, this is crazy. And like I said again for the 100th time, I did not hate the guy. I loved him. But he was originally from Canada, and he only got into this country because he was with some chick, but his visa ran out, whatever it was, and they deported him back to Canada. But Canada took him. And I was telling Canada, what, you know, hey, I'm not saying throw him out because he's a piece of shit, but he did break a rule. And that's why I say, man, I don't believe none of the rules, none of the bullshit. They don't have any rules to live by. They got no code of honor. They don't have.
No.
They're going to. That's why they lost the respect. Right, Rod?
Make it up as you go.
So, you know, now that this individual, I don't want to say his name, he goes back to Canada, and I'm sure he's doing his Hell's Angel thing there real good, but I don't know who he pissed off. It was nobody in the club, I guarantee that, because he was found shot in the back of the head under a bridge somewhere in Canada, but he had his patch on. No way would another Hell's Angel do that. I mean, he would do, one Hell's Angel would do that to another one, obviously. We've seen him in the dog cook-up factory. So with that being said, he still had his patch on. If an angel would have done it, he would have took the patch off.
Yeah, they would have took the patch from him.
Right. So it was somebody else that did that to him, you know, and I'm sorry to see him go like that, you know.
And we were talking before, and you were saying a lot more angels have killed angels than
in the last 10 years. Then they have killed their enemies. But I don't know now. It might slow down a little bit, Staxx, because, you know, the cookie jar top is open and the info's all out about the doggy infirmary.
Yeah. Did you know some of the guys, Repo?
Yeah, a few.
I knew them all.
Do you want to tell us about that?
I only know what I see or read or hear in the news, bro, because I was already out of the club by then, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole event is just sick shit, man. These guys are all coming up missing and gone, and I don't know, bro. Things have changed so much and so bad. I mean, I don't know what the hell those guys are doing them to themselves. To me, when I joined the Hells Angels, I did it because I was joining the biggest, baddest fucking club in the world, you know? And they're letting themselves go to shit in a handbag, man.
Pee-wee, are you shocked at the way they did Repo?
I'm shocked the way they did the whole thing. Yeah, just the way it went down. It was like a huge eye-opener. Like, wow. And then right after I saw that thing with Rod, what they did with Rod and them, that's when I told you I saw the Michigan thing in the summer. It was like about a couple of years probably after the Philly thing. And then all of a sudden they went over and telling the Michigan guys, you know, you better start watching your backyard and taking care. Well, if that's the case, bro, they need to hit a lot of charters and start throwing them out. You guys are a bunch of duds. Yeah. Beat it.
Yeah, they don't tell you go over here and kill these guys.
No, they don't say nothing like that. No.
Because let me make it clear, it's not a criminal organization. Even though you guys aren't in the club, you never signed up to be in a criminal organization, right? For joining, Rob.
For what they say is brotherhood.
Yeah.
I got more now than I had there. And you know, we're gonna get into that in a second.
Yeah, let's talk about that. You made a group, right? And tell me how that all came about.
Yeah, what I did first, bro, is I started a group before I went to prison, I started this group called, and I called it this, Group 51. Instead of 81 Hell's Angel, I made it X Angels, right? And I had probably about 60 guys in it. And, we're all talking to each other. We're all X, out bad, who cares, And we're all talking to one another. I don't know what the hell happened. I went to prison, and it went to hell in a handbag. I mean, one of the guys on there that asked me, should he testify? And I said, no, I wouldn't do it, man. Even though he was out of the club, to get his shit back, he had to testify. So when he did that, a bunch of guys left the group, because basically he snitched, I ended up getting rid of him, and then I started a new group where I thought, you know what? I'm going to open it up to all ex, club guys and, like a brotherhood thing.
Yeah.
So I call it Brothers for Life. And I've got, Banditos, ex-outlaws, ex-El Forsteros. Oh, man.
So any guys that were in
Sinners,
1% clubs.
Not just 1% clubs, just regular clubs too, like small clubs. Yeah. But yeah, the ones, the El Forsteros, the Banditos, the Outlaws, they're all big 1% clubs, But we're all in the same group, Staxx. And we all sit here talking like we're talking, hey, what's up, brother? Hey, what's going on? And I have a summer run every year, and we all get together. This is the only year I didn't have it. I took a break. We get together every year, and we just cook out, and we don't sit around and talk and hate and talk shit about the club. Nobody gives a shit. We're living for the future, you know what I mean? And we're just no patches, nothing. Hell, I don't, like I said in my book, I don't even own a motorcycle anymore. I sold my bike to buy a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Which I'll be on in about 25 minutes. But hey, I'm just saying, it's solid. And you could see the brothers were solid. Man, the pictures I got of me and Repo Rod and Maddie and BA, it was right. That was the last time he was alive. He's gone,
Oh, so you guys all had one of these
last year
cookouts. It was like a run, right?
Yeah, last year. And BA was here. And we got a picture. We got a picture of it.
I can't hear you, Rod.
Yeah, there's.
We got no sound. Yeah, we can't.
I don't know if you know, but Rod was the only deaf guy we had.
Yeah.
The deaf guy we had in the club. Yeah.
If you go out and come back in, you had to reset it. Wow. So I didn't know that you started this. Well, I knew you started the group, but I didn't know you had like your own runs together where everyone would get together. And
you know what, Billy? There's some guys I had in there that just ride bikes. They weren't even really in clubs, but I've known them for 40 years, So I put them in there too. I put some of them in there, but everybody's, bitching, hey, man, why do we have a run? Let's have a run next year. So everybody says they're coming, so it should be a big one. Now, I've got about 100. I probably got 132 guys.
So here's one of the pictures.
Yeah, that was at that run.
Oh, that was when you guys had the run last year?
Yeah.
BA, tell me about BA.
BA was a good guy, man. I mean, he got fucked over good in the club, you know what I mean? I mean, they really did him dirty, but ain't any dirtier than putting guys in a goddamn dog crematorium, BA.
Got me now?
Yeah.
All right.
Good, bro.
Now we're in there.
All right.
So we're talking about BA, bro. What kind of guy he was?
Yeah.
He just had a big heart, man, and he really, really loved being a Hell's Angel. And I think the hardest part for him, and he told me this. He said the hardest part was no closure on it. He never knew why they did what they did to him, He said, when they said, you're out of the club bad, he said, what did I do?
Yep.
Yeah, you kind of want an explanation, right? When something like that happens.
I mean, to get a beating the way he did, he had bleeding on the brain, his navel cavity. Bro, let me tell you, him and I went to Milwaukee together, right? He met me in Milwaukee. I picked him up on there's a ferry that comes across from Michigan to Wisconsin. And he came across. I was already there. I picked him up. at the boat, and we went to the hotel, and it was right on Lincoln by the airport. And it was funny because when we got there, we got out of the truck, my truck. We're pulling our bags out. We hear a motorcycle coming down the road. We both glance and look. It's an outlaw, you know. We just look at each other and kind of smile, you know. And we walk inside, we check in. And at that time, I had the big, on the side of my neck here, I had the big tattoo, Hell's Angels, on my neck just before I covered it up. And, man, there's a bike out in front, you know, and I walk in there and the guy says, oh, hey, man, because naturally as soon as you see tatted up guys, you know, he's like, you guys ride? You guys ride? I'm like, nah, man. He goes, oh, I ride everywhere. The guy behind the counter was all, you know, Joe Biker guy, you know. And
yeah.
I said, yeah, whatever, man. So he sends us to our room in the back there, and we're just chilling out. That night, bro, I gotta tell you, BA falls asleep sideways on his bed, right? And I'm laying over on mine trying to watch TV. Man, he starts like, you know, this horrible breathing. I mean, like somebody choking to death on a piece of meat. You know, he's like, he's jumping around and his arms are flying. And so I really, honestly, God, thought he was having a seizure. I really did. No bullshit. And I jumped up and I grabbed his arms. I go, BA, wakes up full comedy. He goes, what's up? I go, God damn, bro, you're freaking me out, man. I thought you were having a seizure. Oh, no, that's the way I sleep. I said, that's the way you sleep? How the hell do you get any sleep? He said, I don't, bro. That's why I nod off all the time. And I said to him, what the hell is that, man? You must have some. And his kid was with. His son, Abraham, was with.
Yep.
And I said, is he always like this, Abraham? And he goes, yeah, he's got sleep apnea. He's supposed to wear that CPAP machine. He won't do it, you know? I said, bro, you got some major issues, man, major. And he said, well, when I got hit in the face with a bat, it caved his whole nose in, so his naval passage up here was all closed off. You know, like he said, when he gets horrible headaches, you know, when he any kind of congestion up there and stuff. You had to be there to see it, man. I mean, seriously, the way he's rolling around. And he was putting on so much weight, right, Repo?
Oh, yeah.
He was getting bigger and bigger. It's like 2X. Then he goes, yeah, give me a 3X this year in T-shirts because I have run T-shirts, right? Then the last year, the year that me and Repo Rod saw him, the last year he's alive, he was wearing a 4X, and that thing was tight as hell on him.
Yeah.
He was just getting so heavy and so big. So he takes me down. He goes, hey, you ever go to the Harley? And I was born and raised in Milwaukee. But, you know, I didn't go to a lot of that Harley Davidson bullshit, you know. But he said, you want to go to the museum? And I said, yeah, we'll go to the museum. So we went to the Harley Museum, and we walked around. It was the first time I ever been there. It was pretty interesting, you know. And then it was kind of funny because then we get down this one section, Staxx, and they got this glass cabinet up there, and I'm looking, and I go, hey, man, I've got that magazine. It was a 1967 magazine, Post. It was called The Post. And they don't make it anymore, but I have it still brand new in plastic. It was something about the Hells Angels. I never even read it because I told you I didn't take it out of the plastic. But it's hanging on the wall in this display cabinet. And right next to it, this Wild on Wheels. It's another book where it shows like Skip, one of the Hells Angels, the one that was on that talk show with Hunter Thompson, and I think it was
the Geraldo one.
Was it the Geraldo? It was either Geraldo or Cavett, Dick Cavett, either one of those. But Skip was really cool. I met Skip, and he's riding on the front of it, and he's on the cover of that book, and they had some like other pictures and stuff like that in there. And I said, I got that book and I got that magazine. And we're standing there, and like I said, on the side of my neck is that tattoo. And this guy's standing there, and he goes, "Oh, look at this stuff." He's telling his buddy, and they're right in front of us. He goes, "Look at this stuff, man. This is cool." Man, he said, "Did you ever meet one of these guys?" And his friend goes, "No." And he goes, "I met Sonny Barger at Sturgis one time, man. There was a lot of Hell's Angels. There was a couple really big ones, man." And I'm just standing there. I wasn't saying a word to him, you know. So BA, everywhere he went, he had to like lean over the counter, you know, rest on something. That's how bad his pack was for being so heavy.
Yeah.
Every time I looked at him, he was leaning over a table, a counter, railing. Yeah. He walked 10 feet, he'd take a rest. So I just stood there, and it was kind of funny. BA looks at me, I looked at BA, we started kind of laughing. The guy turns around and goes, "Did you guys ever meet Sonny Barger?" I said, "Yeah, I met him a few times." You know? He looks up, he sees my neck, and he goes, "Holy shit. Are you really?" I said, "No, I'm not one anymore, you know. I was one, but I'm not anymore." I said, "So is he, and he's not anymore. We were both Hell's Angels." And then the guy goes, "Whoa, man, can I get my picture with you?" And I said, "No." And then we just walked.
He said no.
Yeah, I said, "No, I don't want my picture. I don't want him blowing that up all over the media too, you know."
Yeah.
So I just said no. And we walked through the museum, and like I said, BA was totally exhausted. So we go back to the hotel. We got the kid in the back seat of my truck. We pull into the hotel. I swear to God, there's a bar out in the front of it. It's right. I think you can eat in there and drink. I didn't go in it, but we pulled it. When we pulled in, we turned the corner, and there's 3 baggers lined up with the back tire to the curb, you know, but facing out.
Yeah.
And we pull it, and right on the front of the windshield says Outlaws MC. Right on the windshield. So I look over at it. I'm looking, and I stop, and BA looks at it, and he looks at me, and I says, "I don't know, you want to go inside, see what they have to say? I want to ask them if they got a problem with me. Obviously, every time I come to Milwaukee, they got some problem with me. I just want to end it or end it, you know?"
Yeah.
And then he lays this one on me, you know. "I would, man, but, you know, now with my kid in the truck and shit," and I'm like, "God damn it, it was a perfect opportunity, bro," you know?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I was going to go in there fists of swinging, but, I mean, if that's what they would have wanted, I would have obliged them, you know, but I just said, "Okay, BA," and we just went back to the room and hung out in this shithole hotel that we were in. It was the only one I could get. And then I took him and his kid the next day to the boat. They jumped on the boat and went home.
Yeah. So, Rod, when you find out that BA passes away,
Right.
before we get into that, can you explain what happened to BA? Were you in the club, Rod, when this all happened, or were you out by then?
I think I was on non-association on my case then.
I think you were, bro.
Yeah.
So do you remember hearing about this
I
situation?
remember hearing, you know, different things about it, but, you know, at that time I had to duck and dive to conversate with anybody. So
Nobody,
I just
Rod,
know they put one hell of a beating on them.
And Rod, nobody really knew what happened.
Right?
No,
Yep.
None of us really knew what happened. I mean, me and Rod found out later because BA told us to our face, you know.
Yeah.
You want to explain what BA told you? What happened?
Well, I was in the clubhouse with him in New York, and he was standing over by this guy named Little Mike. He was playing a video game. He's dead now. He was playing a video game, and BA was watching him. And he was standing there drinking Gatorade. And I said, "Hey, we're going to go down to Little Italy, you know, on Mulberry Street and get something to eat. You want to come with?" And he goes, "No, I'm going to hang out here, man, and maybe play the poker game." And I said, "All right." I said, "I'll see you when we get back." And he goes, "All right, bro." And I left. I come back. I walk in, and I'm looking around, and I go, "Hey, where'd BA go?" "Oh, man, we had to get him out of here." I go, "What do you mean?" "We had to get him out of here. He was acting all crazy. He was running around and saying he's going to call the cops. We're trying to kill him." I said, "Why the fuck would he say that?" unless you were, right?
Yeah.
So I said, why would he say something like that? And they go, we don't know. It's just, you know, they preach to you, Billy. Don't ever lie, cheat, or steal. Right, Rod?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yet that motherfucker was lying right to my face. I know he was. Because, come on, bro. The guy didn't do anything else, and he's screaming, call the cops. They're going to kill me. Something went wrong, and he never did do that. He never did. So he told me that he was standing by the poker machine, and the next thing you know, boom, lights out. He drops to the floor. He didn't know what hit him. You know how he found out? He's laying on the ground. He said he was like half conscious, half not, you know. He said he heard a girl crying, and she said, oh, my God, you hit him right in the face with that baseball bat. I think you killed him. That's how he knew he got hit in the face with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
So if he never said that, nobody would ever know unless the other guy would have said something.
No, he would have never known if that chick never would have said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another guy who's dead now that was in a club from San Francisco, Papa, he says, get him out of here. We don't want him to die in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And it was weird because they dragged him out. They put him outside, and he was sitting on a bench outside. And one of the other Frisco members comes up and says, hey, what are you doing? Oh, what the hell happened to you? You know, because his face was just, he told me he couldn't see. He had to take his eye and pop it open to see where he was. And he still had his patch on. So see, that's what's weird, bro. That's the weird part. So he had $2,800 in his pocket. And when he woke up, he had no money in his pocket.
Where was he a member
Imagine
out
that.
of?
Michigan.
So do you think it had something to do with the way they were treating the Michigan guys?
Well, he didn't even know already, bro, but they were already starting to shut all his shit down, his charter. And they were shutting all that shit down.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Hey, Staxx, here's a picture. Here's a picture of him. Let's see if I can get it on there. I don't know. Oh, you can't see it, can you?
If you hold it real up.
Right, there it goes.
Boom. Yeah. Wow.
How's that?
Wow.
Yeah, that's his face right there, bro.
That's
insane. See, his eyes are completely closed.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's real bad.
So it doesn't matter if you're a stand-up guy and you're just so happen to be in one of these charters that's getting shut down, they won't pluck you out of the charter and shut the charter down and keep the good guys.
No, they did do that because they took one guy that stayed in, the treasurer, and BA gave him
money.
Yeah. BA gave him $30,000 from the t-shirt sales. He never ever wrote it down. And he transferred to Chicago. And when he got to Chicago, he was in the club for another 6-7 years. And then all of a sudden they're like, where's that 30 grand? And then they invested, they found out, beat his ass and threw him out. It's like I said in my book, bro, shit floats to the top. It always does.
So what happens with BA? They throw him outside. He's got his patch on. What happens?
Then I guess one of the guys, the biggest piece of shit, Johnny Merchant, he takes him. He jumps in BA's truck because BA had his bike in the back. Brought it there for a photo shoot for the calendar. And then he took him back to Michigan. He told me that they stopped at a gas station and he had a piss. So he went in to piss. But like I said, he had to hold his eye open to see where he's walking. Yeah. And when he went inside, people were like, oh, my God, should we call an ambulance? You know, I mean, people were freaking out. So John's like, hey, you need to stay in the truck, man. You know, I don't want people seeing you and stuff. And then when they got back to Michigan, Bob Mack, who's out of the club now, he's a great guy. Bob Mack was there, and he's the one who sponsored BA. And he wasn't a Michigan member. He was Indiana. It was Indiana, I think, Nomad or something. But he's a good dude, man. I known him way back from the Hell's Henchman days. And they said, we're keeping his bike. And he said, no, you ain't. They're not. You're not keeping his bike. Give him his fucking bike. Yeah, they were going to take his bike. It had Hell's Angel shit
Yep.
all over it. So did mine. But, you know, I just had it shit all scraped off and painted black.
Did they
But,
keep your bike, Repo?
No, they didn't get my bike.
So they didn't
my
get
bike.
any of their bikes. You,
No, they
Oh,
didn't
no.
or you, him, or BA. No, none
You know,
of them.
you know,
But
honestly, what's funny is when they threw me out, I literally had 2 storage units full of member property, full, and you did what you did to me, yet you still got your shit back.
yeah, they
And
sent
they
a
actually
carload of guys to get it, right?
they sent prospects to collect it, fucking prospects to collect member property, and I wouldn't give it to them. I said send a member. Nobody would come. They wouldn't come, you know, because after that, you know, shit was going south only one way if they started something. The guy that used to be the president of Baltimore at the time, Nate, he's out now. They threw him out too.
Rat.
I met up with him like halfway, just at the Maryland state line a couple of times and transferred everything. And I made him sign a paper, everything I gave him, and the right way, even after they did me wrong.
You know, if I would have known, you know, the old Faces song, you know, ooh la la, if I only knew now what I knew back then.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, bro, if I would have known they were going to smoke me for $80,000 on that building, I
Yep.
would have kept all my shit and sold it.
Yeah.
Had people selling it and everything to make up some of that money that I got burned on.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I thought everything was legit, you know, and
They burned you on this a store up in Laconia too, right? Or
no, just my shop
Sturgis.
in Sturgis.
Sturgis shop, yeah. So the clubhouse, the Sturgis shop, a whole bunch of stuff. I got a question that the viewers put in for me to ask. They want to know what you guys think of the new breed that are coming into the club.
No respect, no honor.
It's not what it's portrayed to be, as Pee-wee State Brotherhood, the biggest lie ever told. There's a lot more to it that the outside world doesn't understand, but it's not what it looks like. All I can say is if you're not there, man, if you're willing to lose your life, your income, your family, your home, everything, go for it. But other than that, man, stay the hell away from it.
Yeah, because there is the brotherhood is not there. They say that it is, and that's what I was. Same as Repo. That's what I was looking for, Billy. I was looking for a solid brotherhood, and we were pretty close brothers when I was in the Sinners, a little club I was in. It was only in 3 states, maybe 50 total members within 3 states, but we were close, man. We get together, you know, we cook out, we hang out, we go to bars together. It was always the only time with these guys was club stuff, you know. There was and the ones I got to say that were really truly brothers, like me and Rod are now. We knew each other, but we were always going in different directions with the club. Now that we don't have that direction to go anymore, man, we're just concentrating on what we have. And these guys, man, every one of these guys you can talk to on the phone, just like me and Repo. Every time we hang up, okay, bro, later, love you, man, love you, brother. And all these guys, you know, Bandito, whatever, you know, whatever they were, we all get along.
I think
That's what it should be.
If I'm right, Pee-wee, I think our number right now is around 150.
It could be.
I think it's right around 150 guys that range multitude of different clubs out there. There's no animosity, no patch in between us anymore, no bullshit. You know, if I got to get down and dirty, these guys that I'm with now, this thing, I trust them more than I trusted the guys I was patched with, because I know where a lot of them are coming from and where they've been. I just seen, even in my own house there. So, you know, we know for a fact there was 2 paid informants in Philadelphia, paid rats for the government. And there was probably more. And it goes straight across the board. It's not just there. That happens many, many different places from east to west. You know, a guy gets there's no heart like there used to be, man. You know, you got a case, you suck it up, you eat the time, you come out, and you move forward. Now they get pinched for like a 1 to 3 year. They start to tears, crocodile tears are going. Yeah, I'll tell you whatever you want to know, just so I don't go to jail. Nah, I'm good where I'm at now. I don't need that shit.
Did you ever meet Thomas Wood?
Oh, I have. Yeah, I have.
What did you
he was
think?
a great guy. I went to his funeral too.
Yeah.
And it was a ton of people there,
Oh, yeah.
cops too. But there was a ton of cops, but Tommy, man, he was a great dude, man. I got pictures of him with the other guy standing around a fire barrel in front of the New York clubhouse. You know what I mean? Back when they were prospecting. I swear to God, you know, and those guys, when they were hanging out there, I would always walk outside. Hey, man, what's going on? And I get to know them because in New York, yes, Repo, they make the prospects stand outside. They're not allowed in the clubhouse at all, bro. 20 below zero, they're out there.
Yeah.
I know that. I know Derek, who's part of my group there.
Mm-hmm.
He stood out there. He was a young kid. He was 18, 19 years old. He stood out there in that freezing cold weather for 2 days. I would bring him coffee and shit like that out to him and say, "You all right?" And he goes, "Yeah." He had the fire barrel, and then after the guys pissed off the cops took the fire barrel. More. That's it. Done.
Hey, Bill, I'm gonna throw something in here real quick. In some of the podcasts I've done with you, we were mentioning Tommy throughout there. A couple of times we said the name Thinker. Thinker they used when he was a pagan. Because I've got a couple people outreached that I'm a horrible person because I used the name Thinker and he never wanted to be called Thinker again. We referenced the name that he was called in the pagans as Thinker. Tommy was called Tommy as a Hell's Angel, not Thinker.
So they never reference him as Thinker.
No. Not when he was a Hell's Angel. He was never called Thinker, ever.
I've never even heard that name. I always call him Tommy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the news used it quite a bit when the news was reporting on his death. They used that word a lot.
Yeah. Oh, did they? I didn't know that.
And he's been gone 19 years now. Somebody in a shitty little message they sent me said he's been gone 25 years, and I'm going to find their address and I'll mail them a book, Math for Dummies. But you can take your shitty message and put it where the sun don't shine, as far as I care.
Yeah, you know how people are. They try to be they were closer. This and that. So I want to ask you guys, what direction do you think this club life is going in, and what do you think's in store for the future of either the Hells Angels or 1% clubs out there across the country?
I think across the board that they really got to clean up and tighten up, and it's just all these new ways that they use different laws against you, terrorist laws that were never written to be used against an American citizen. They utilize that to jam somebody up and jam multiple people up, jam a whole charter up, and it's going to break things down. And the wars got to stop, because that's really going to demise the clubs across the board. And that goes for all the clubs. You got to clean up, tighten up, and stop the wars, which, people are people. I got to say that it's not that the club is going and instructing you to go out and have a war with this one club, but you got to be better people with one another, and or you're going to deteriorate everything. And some of the new guys that are coming in, I can tell you numerous times, man, listening to the bullets flying, and having a guy that was next to me piss his pants. He was so goddamn scared, and he was wearing a patch, pissed himself, and cried like a 2-year-old. Man, you need to go home, because if you're scared, you're not in the right place. You never know what could happen.
And you never know who's around you, right, bro?
Right.
I mean, some of these guys standing around you, you're looking at them like, hey, like what Rod said before, us guys now, I would hesitate in a minute to get down or do whatever. And I know they'll jump in. Some of these other guys, when I was in the club, I even had them in my charter. Some of the biggest, I thought they were cool kids. They were kids. You're trying to bring these people in, and you think, oh, I'll change them. I'll better them. I'll mold the kid, make him right. And I had this kid named Brandon. He was he thought he was a tough guy, but he wasn't. He was a big pussy. And then, I like I said, I had one guy with, I found out he, cross dresser. I mean, you could go on and on,
So wait. What happens when you find out one of your members is a cross dresser? What happens?
Well, I didn't know it until like after, the charter was shut down and I already quit. And I went to prison. He went to prison. And I saw him after we got out of prison, stuff when we were talking, and he says, he says to me, yeah, man, when I first walked into the cell, my cell, he was laying on the top bunk, and he was a big dude, right? And he said he's all, I seen the guy. He called him Animal too. He was in there for a double homicide. And when cross-dresser walked in there, he said, "Hey, I just want you to know, as soon as you get situated here, I'm gonna fuck you." And I looked at the dude, and he tells me this, and I go, "What'd you say?" He says, "I told him, hey, I don't play that. I don't play that." Now I know somebody where he was staying, he lived, and then he found in the garage a box of like women's underwear, dresses, dildos, all this shit, right? I don't know, he's ramming up his own ass, dressing up like a woman, the whole thing, man. So he tells me then when he went to the shower, there was this big black dude standing by the shower, and he told me, yeah, I'm going to get some of that. And I says, wow, man. And he goes, what? And I said, I feel bad, because, man, I was there like almost total 3 years.
And they didn't want me, right?
Nobody wanted to fuck me.
What the fuck?
The only ones that fucked me was the club.
Oh, man, that's a good one.
Hey, Pee-wee, with that, I got to say, guys, if you're watching these videos, these casts, and you're out there and you're out, man, reach out to us. Talk to us about coming around, and there ain't no dues, man, nothing like that. We don't
prospect patch and start
there's no prospecting, there's nothing, man. It's guys that were there, and it doesn't matter which one you were in. And I can remember meeting the Outlaw, I think it was at the one run. I can remember him from back in the day. And if I'd have seen him back in the day, things would have been different, man. He came over. He knew who I was. He said hello to me, shook my hand. He says, we're in a different place. I said, yeah, man, we're all good. As long as you remember, we're all good. He and I wound up going up someplace up in the mountains for a few hours and hung out and drank. And
how did you feel to be able to be cool with these people that you were once trying to kill?
It's easy, bro. It's easy. I swear to God, I really can't explain it to you, Staxx, but it's easy. I got one guy who was an outlaw, quit the Outlaws and joined the Banditos, and was a Bandito the rest of his whole life. And now he's out, he's like in his 70s. But yeah, he comes and he sends me stuff from everywhere. He travels around on his bike. And he's super cool guy. It was like in Little Rock, Arkansas. And he hits me up, and I just tell him when the party is, and he comes to it. He's not on Facebook or anything like that. That's what's hard, You got to be on Facebook, and you find me or something. I accept you as a friend, and then I can add you.
Yeah,
that's where it is. Little Rock.
Repo.
Little Rock.
Little
Arkansas.
Rock.
That's where you have the runs.
No. I have them right at my house. Then everybody knows they run my name, find my address.
You should put it on your website. Just put a link on your website. They could all be able to.
Yeah, throw it.
You know.
We'll tighten that up and put some emails out there so people can get a hold of us that we're ex-club members from whatever walk of life. After we get done with this people.
Yeah, because you can ask Repo. We got the guys all here that are gunsmiths. They make guns and stuff. They'll bring AK-47, everything, man, pistols, and we'll be shooting away in the backyard here. There's nothing around me, right, Repo? There's nothing but trees, man.
I mean, PeeWee and I don't touch any firearms because we're felons.
Right.
You just watch, right? You just clean up.
We just watch.
That's right.
Yeah. Just kind of clean up the empty shells.
We just pick up. We don't even pick up the sponge.
We don't
shells.
collect the brass.
We sweep them up and never touch them.
So what's in it for the future for you guys? What's going on with the future for both of you guys?
The future's great. The future is great. I'm going to be. Well, if my girl has her way, I'll be married in about 2 or 3 months. If it's my way, we'll be married in about a year.
Just give me a good notice, bro, so I can make it.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to move from where we're at now, and it's a great thing because I've already got tight brothers right where we're going to be going. It's going to be really, really a good life, man. Like, I finally got a good girl I'll put it this way, an old lady that knows how and when not to open her mouth. Back in the club life, they were far and few in between. I've said that in the cast I did with you before, Bill. I've seen dudes get beat up, thrown out because of their old ladies, because their old ladies believed they wore a patch and that they could dictate how things took place. And
if I were the president, she said.
Yeah, that was out in front of the Philly clubhouse one night. We were leaving, I think, to go up to the Connecticut Nomads, and we're inside, and that was even before Tommy got murdered. There was one that sat out there. I won't mention her name, even though I know it, unless you keep sending me shitty messages. Well, if I was the president, we wouldn't sit out here for hours before we went to a party. And then I think it was another 2 hours that they sat out there before they left because of what she had said.
It serves her right?
Oh, yeah.
PeeWee, how shocked were you that Rod showed up to BA's?
I was shocked because I knew he set out when he called me. He said, "Hey, I'm leaving right now," and he was leaving in his car. I was thinking, man, it's taking him a long time. So I got a room. When I got there, I says he's gonna be tired. I got a room with the 2 beds, and I knew he was set when he got there. If he did or if he didn't, I still had the room. But man, he turned around and went and got his motorcycle, came back.
Yeah, the car shit the bed, right? Car shit the bed.
Man, dude.
Yeah.
And then it was weird because one of the old Michigan members. Jay, I saw this guy Sonny, and me and Repo. It was good. See, and I still talk to those guys. I still do since that funeral. And Jay brought me his bike, one of his bikes, and I was riding his bike. Yeah. And man, dude, we left for the funeral in the morning. It was sunny, hot. My head got burnt really bad.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was warm.
Yeah, and I mean, my head was glowing like a tomato. And we were flying down this back road, these country roads. Bro, all I had was sunglasses. I couldn't get a pair of clear glasses. So I got the shades on, man. I'm trying to lift them up so I can see. I remember when we were riding, we were hauling ass. And I was up front with this guy that was showing us which way to go because obviously, we're not from there, Michigan. So this guy's taking us down the back roads. He's leaning over talking to me, he's yelling something to me. And I'm looking straight, and I could barely see, like I said, out of glasses. Bro, I saw the biggest fucking raccoon run across the road. And he just missed it. He just missed it. It just cleared his tire. And I looked, and he didn't even know it. I thought to myself, man, that would have been my luck. His bastard would have crashed into me,
Yeah.
Because like Repo says, we get used to riding with each other. And we know how we ride. This guy I was riding next to was irritated me, It was just a matter of time before I was going to get up and smack him one,
Oh, man. Yeah, it was bad. Hey, we went down the ramp. He's next to me, and he's right over in front of me. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
If I didn't get over in the shoulder, he came over right into where I'm at. I'm like, I'm looking at Pee-wee like, what the hell's this guy doing? He can't ride.
You got to keep formation, right?
Right. And he was, he was trying to show off, like, I had a fast bike or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
I was just trying to see him stay alive, bro. Going down, I mean, because we were flying pretty fast.
Especially riding with Rod, the way Rod
no
rides,
street
right?
lights, no nothing. We're on a country road, bro. It was pitch black. I didn't even know how I saw that raccoon. I think I saw that raccoon from everybody behind these headlights. I saw that raccoon, yeah. But yeah, the club, the club itself it's just changing in a bad way, I had no animosity toward them or anything like that. I mean, I'm pissed off they ripped me off on that shop, but I'll deal with that the way I got to deal with it. But other than that, I was happy being a Hell's Angel and shit. I just didn't like it when I started seeing the way it was changing. It was changing for the worst, And now, I mean, it's probably as bad as it's. I hope as bad as it's going to get, and don't get any badder.
Yeah. What do you think about them throwing out Chuck Zito? How bad?
I say, who cares?
Did you ever think it would happen?
No, because he's pretty much up their ass all the time, Yeah. That's why I cut my ties with him.
With Chuck?
Yeah. He came over, we went out to eat and stuff, and he's, hey, when you ran this city, man, you had the city under control, Pee-wee. It was all you, Now look at this shithole, and And then they tell him, hey, don't go talking to Pee-wee anymore, or you can't come around. And boop, that was the end of that. Which I was happy, I was thinking,
now he could join your. Now he could
all
join
that
your
ass
club.
kissing. All that ass kissing he did was for nothing.
Yeah.
All that Botox in his lips and shit. What a waste.
Now he can join the Facebook group.
Right.
He's out bad.
I don't think so. He's out double bad with us.
Yeah, he's out of that group too, right? Yeah. He's not allowed.
Right.
This is great. I'm going to have you guys on again.
All righty.
Yeah, we'll chop it up. This has been a really great one. People are going to enjoy this one. Cool. Thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it.
Talk to y'all soon.
And make sure you go check out Pee-wee's book, Brotherhood, The Greatest Lie Ever Told. Pee-wee Charles Goldsmith. Thank you guys.
You got it. Have a good night.
If you guys like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like the show, too fucking bad, start your own podcast.